It's been really hot this summer, and the pond we used to have to help the horses cool off has completely dried up. So we've been looking for some new cooling options to help everybody deal with all of this extra heat. Let me show you how I set up this temporary misting system for the horses that's on a timer so that they can still have some choice about ways they want to cool off in the heat. This was done on a budget and is something that's really simple to do and didn't take much time at all. If this is interesting to you, stick around and I'll show you how I did it. The first thing I needed to do was to find a good spot to place the mist or the water wherever it was going to spray. And it had to be a spot that was going to be near shade and that wasn't going to be too close to any kind of fences or gates or anything that the horses could injure themselves on if they chose to roll in the mud that the water created. So this is the spot we chose, and we used this tree. There's lots of shade here, and it's also near their favorite water trough so that they can get used to the timer and when it goes off as they come in for water and know when it will be there to help them cool off. So I had to pick up some items from my local home improvement store. The first one is an automatic timer for gardens for watering systems. The second one is I needed another splitter that offered more ports to our water faucet. The third is gear ties, which are optional, and I'll tell you about those in a little bit. And then I needed a new nozzle, a new spray nozzle, so that I didn't have to use the one I already had and I could still keep using it for some other things that we need on a daily basis. This allows me to set up a separate system that doesn't get in the way of the other things that we need to use our water hoses for. So the first thing I needed to do was connect the splitter to my faucet, and it comes with some extra hardware because it wants you to put this brace on there to help protect your faucet. So pay attention to that. You may need some extra tools like a screwdriver or a drill depending on your setup. Once my splitter was attached, I could attach my timer. As you can see, it has some indications. We're not going to use it when it's super cold. And one thing that I noticed is that my hose was leaking from this timer. So I used the washer that came in the hardware with the splitter and I put it in this hose. And that's what it's for. It's a hose washer. And I hooked it back up and it took care of the leak. So this is what the setup looks like. As you can see, this is for our water trough. That hose goes to feed our water trough. And then this middle one, the black one, is the one that we have set up for daily use kind of stuff. This is the one that I wanted to keep available to us so that we didn't have to go unhook our misting system to be able to use the hose for normal daily things like watering plants or washing out feed pans or buckets or anything like that. And then the third one is the hose that leads to our misting system. And this timer is really easy to set up. You just set the time it is now, and then choose your start time. I chose 8:05 a.m. and then how long you want it to run once it starts, and then how often you want it to run. This turns it off, and then when you're ready to start it, you just set it on auto. There's also a manual option when you just want to turn it on for that moment, and you can set how long it goes on. And I did this a lot while I was testing everything out. So this is what it looks like. It runs from our faucet through our little barnyard area, underneath the fence, and then up on this tree where it gives it some height. Now if you notice, I kind of wrapped the hose around the tree a little bit, just to protect the hose a little bit and to make it a little sturdier in the setup where I didn't have to attach anything else. And if I need to, I can use some wire, another gear tie to secure the hose to the bottom of this tree, just to make sure it doesn't move too much. Now, if you're like me, having this hose out like this exposed to the horses may cause a problem if you have some horses who are very curious and like to mess with things, and Juno is going to demonstrate for us here. So another option you have is just to get your shovel out, do a little digging, and you can bury this hose just a couple of inches and it should prevent this problem here. I'm not going to do that right now because I think that it's going to be okay. Juno likes to test things out that are new. This is a little bit new, and so she'll test it out a few times and then she'll probably leave it alone. So I'm not too worried about it, but I always have the option to go back and protect my hose by kind of burying it a little bit and keeping it away from the horses. And thank you, Juno, for demonstrating this for me. So this is where I attach the hose and the sprayer to the tree, and I use these gear ties. Now these gear ties are fantastic. They're reusable, they last a long time, you can use them for so many different things. And I like them a little bit better than baling wire. They're a lot easier to maneuver when you decide that you need to move them, like I did here, because I thought my sprayer was a little bit too high for the horses. And so here you see me undoing it, and they're just really easy to undo. They really secure things very well, and it just takes a few seconds. I have to put the camera down. It's hard to do with one hand. And so I dropped the sprayer a little bit so that the water sprays lower and makes it easier to reach the horses at a level that they feel more comfortable with. Now you wouldn't have to use gear ties. You could use baling wire, you could use baling twine. All of these things you may already have laying around, and it can save you some expense. I know we're going to use these gear ties over and over and over again, so it was worth the investment for us. I'm going to put a link to everything that I used in the description box so you can check it out for yourself and see if it'll work for you. And the horses are really enjoying this. They came over immediately and tested this setup out for me, and Juno is letting me know what she thinks about it. And if you're curious about why I set it up this way instead of installing a more permanent misting system, it's because we're going to be moving to a new property at some point, and I didn't want to invest the time, effort, and money into a more permanent misting system. Also because our horses don't spend much time in the barn area. They live pretty naturally and stay out on the property, grazing, doing their horse things most of the time. And so this just made more sense for us. So for now, just enjoy the rest of the video, watching the horses enjoy their new little cooling area. And we'll see you next time. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and take care of each other. you.